Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast, proudly representing the 308. Today's episode is brought to you by nobody. But if you want to be in that space, hit us up at the Farmertown Podcast at gmail.com.
Absolutely.
And we will be glad to bring you on board. I am Jake in the 308. With me tonight is Jared.
Howdy.
Jared, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Good to be back. It's been a while.
It has been a while. You know, we were talking about that off air, and we've been right at a month or even maybe over a month now.
Yeah, it's been a little over.
Yeah, so the last episodes we did were with special guest Garth Anderson of Anderson Ag Services, and we appreciate his time coming in here. And we actually ended up having a two-part episode out of that, so that kept us out of the studio for a little while. So yeah, it's good to be back with everybody again. We're looking forward to getting together and visiting a while here this evening. It is Tuesday evening, December the 17th.
Right.
And
happy birthday, Kyle.
Happy birthday, Kyle. We hope you had a good day today.
Not sure if he listens.
Well, maybe he could write the show.
Yeah. Maybe this will get him to listen.
Maybe
we'll just shout out every birthday and get people to listen.
Yeah,
one person
I like
at
that.
a time.
Yep. I don't hate that. It has been unseasonably nice.
Oh, man. Absolutely.
I don't know about where you folks are at, but where we're at, I mean, we're still getting into the 50s, low 50s for some highs. I mean, lows are getting down into the teens and, but I don't know that we've had any single digits yet.
No, I don't think so. Because, I mean, even the low this morning was in the 30s.
Yes.
Where our highs should be.
Yeah, so certainly no complaints here. We have spent a lot of Decembers belt buckle deep in snow, so we are glad we're not. I found a picture on Facebook from 2015. This was yesterday, 2015, and I was cleaning pins, and it was snowing and cold, and I had the tractor parked up on top of Poop Mountain, and I thought that made a good picture.
It's infancy.
Yeah. During its conception, and
back was the poop foothill.
yeah. Oh man, that is a fact, and and it looked cold and miserable.
Yeah, it did.
And so I saved
skies,
that. Yeah, oh yeah, and so I saved that picture. And anybody who wants to complain about it being a little cold or whatever, I just show them that and tell them to calm down. And so yeah. Anyway, I guess if you're gonna have a drought, having it in the winter is a good time.
Yeah, best time to have it.
So, yeah, I guess what have you been up to?
So, like you said, I mean, the nicer fall, I mean, it seems like it's been a super busy fall with everything outside of just kind of the regular work. So, I did some dirt work, and that was in late November. The ground was still thawed out, so got some of that took care of. Basically, fields, we had some big rains this spring. We kind of got big rain, really big rain that washed some draws in the fields out. So I went out, did a lot of dirt work on that. And so that's one less thing to do in the spring. And next week looks like a bunch more 50s. So I might even be able to close pivot tracks, which usually I'm able to do in the fall, but it just hasn't worked out so far. Hauling in some bales today, feeding calves, that's been a lot of it. It's just, I mean, it seems like I've been in a lot more meetings and doing all that kind of book work and stuff. That's not really what I care to do, but that seems to be taking up most of my fall. But being able to have the extended fall has certainly made it nice to get some of that other stuff done too.
Yeah, it has been a tremendous fall for getting dirt work done.
Oh, yeah.
If you needed to do some of that, it was, you couldn't hardly get any better. So
yeah, it's not hard as a rock yet. It's getting plenty dry, but yeah, it's not muddy, not frozen. So we've been frozen for weeks at this point.
Yeah.
Some years.
We have. I kind of need to do a little dirt work myself. I don't know if I'm going to get to it. I need to, I've got kind of a knob out in one pin that I need to pull off and move it to a new pin that now has a low spot and just rearrange some of that. But
is anything more frustrating than dirt work? It seems to take twice as long and it looks half as good as you planned it when you started.
I am one of those weird people that if I have enough time, I enjoy dirt work.
Boy, I need to give you some time.
Yeah. I mean, I do. Like sitting in the tractor with a soil mover and just filling ditches. And
I have big plans and I have an idea. I have a picture of what it looks when I'm laying in bed at night thinking about it, how great it's going to be. And it, like I said, I spend way too much time on it and to only have it look a fraction of good as what I want. It's just, man, it takes so long.
It does. And I will say it takes way longer than you think it should.
Oh, yeah.
But I still enjoy it. I
think
really
it takes
like
3 buckets of dirt and 15 buckets later.
Yeah.
You're like, it's just going to have to do.
Yeah. And
this is ridiculous.
And that's kind of the hard part with hauling manure too, is that way you're like, there's probably 20 loads there. And then, 50 loads later, you're like, boy,
we're half done.
we're getting there. So yeah, I definitely understand that. We've been, gosh, I think we have preg checked cows since the last time we were together, got that taken care of. Well, you know that because you were there.
Well, kind of.
But no, you were there.
No, that time I was there. Yeah, getting them up, I was only half there.
Well, yeah, you were.
I spent a lot of time exploring.
MIA once in a while, but you could see the corral from the cornfield when we gathered and then preg checked, so that was all good. But yeah, we got cows all preg checked, and that actually went really well. Or I don't say actually like I'm surprised. Just it went really well.
You just never know. You kind of hear horror stories.
Yeah,
it's always in the back of your mind.
We always have an expectation, but But anyway, so that went well. We tend to split our first calf heifers off, and so we took time to do that. We keep them kind of on their own in case, if winter does get a little disorderly and they need some extra groceries, we like to be able to feed them a little extra. Once they've made it to varsity and they're on the big league, they got to fend for themselves a little, but we will take care of them. So we got them split off, got the cows out to their cornstalk field, got these other replacement heifers and some of the old cows that need some extra love and stuff. They're on their cornfield. We're actually getting ready to move them. Been doing a lot of fencing, putting electric fence in, and been really a good fall for that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We have started using, this has been a number of years ago, but we started using wood posts for our corner posts.
Oh yeah.
We always used to use T-posts.
That's becoming really popular.
Yeah. We used to use T-posts, and new T-posts are so soft that they just they bend.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, if you have a fence good and humming tight, it'll start pulling the T-post over. But we've also run into that, just if it is froze or it is, whatever, and you can't drive it in and then it gets soggy later, you'll lay T-posts over, the ground thaws out and they tip over. So a lot of times we go around early in the fall and we know what fields we're going to run. We know where the corner posts need to be. So we just go take the tractor and post hole digger and a bucket load of wood posts and punch holes and drop posts in. So we try to get all that done.
So do you even tamp them? I know a lot of guys just throw them in the hole.
We just drop them in the hole. Yep. I've got a little bit smaller bit that is just right for these corner posts.
Okay.
That has got a terrible cutting edge on it at the moment. So I had to go to mine that's a nick size bigger. It makes way too big a hole.
Yeah.
So I kick the dirt back in the hole level full, but I don't tamp it. I just leave it in there, and we seem to get along fine with that. So actually, I went and drilled a few more post holes the other day that I hadn't got done yet, and they worked really well, surprisingly.
Yeah, so even with the colder nights, I'm surprised how little frost there is out there.
Yeah, not enough moisture to be frosty, I suppose.
Probably true.
So yeah, we've been working on that. Yeah. Cows, everybody is looking really good. Good condition, which we've been out here. We've been open. So as far as no snow cover, no ice or no mud, nothing like that. And so, we're getting as much good out of the cornstalk field as we can.
Yeah. I was going to chime in. The cows I have on wheat from the cover crop on the hill, kind of update on that. They're on about 155 acres and I've got about 65 head out there, and I've had them out there since October 1st. And I'd say half of the field still looks untouched. I'm amazed how much mileage I'm getting out of that wheat.
Yeah.
The cows look great, real dirty back ends, but
yeah, right.
They're doing good. And I haven't really cubed them much. I haven't felt like I needed to. And yeah, I was kind of hoping to maybe get to December with it, but man, I'm going to make it 3 months and probably still have enough and just move them because everything needs graze. So I've been really pleased with that. I wasn't sure what to expect, and man, I've been happy with how much I've gotten out of that wheat.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's definitely a good thing for sure. Have you put any water on it this fall then, or it's just?
Yeah, kind of when I think I probably stopped before the freeze. My goal was I kind of pushed it hard up until the temps got down to that. Now, even the upper 30s, I get a little nervous about running pivots. So probably made about 4 rounds after it was drilled just to try to build up a little profile. And once it got cold, shut it off. And hasn't been watered in at least a month and a half.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, glad to hear that's working well. I know we do rye quite a bit, but we typically don't get on it till spring. We have kicked around the idea of fall grazing some of it before. We haven't really done it. I don't know. We kind of need it to work in the spring, so we try to give it as much chance to succeed on the springtime as we can, but probably should do a small test plot sometime and fall graze it and then see what it does.
See how it comes back. That's what I'm curious is how it'll come back in the spring. But like I said, I was expecting it to be grazed a lot harder than it has been, so I don't even think that's going to be an issue. I don't even know if I'll be able to tell from that because it looks like they haven't even touched half the field.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah, I guess, so calves are all on the feed wagon at our place. Mm-hmm. I think they are at your house too.
Yep.
And so it's been a really good fall to run the feed wagon.
Yes, it has.
And it's warm enough that stuff's actually gaining. We're not spending all of our energy to stay warm.
Yep.
So we're actually putting pounds on, which is good. Yeah, we ground a bunch of hay here a while ago. Those forage beans that we talked about in an earlier episode, we ground a bunch of them and kind of got that all ready to go. That goes in a ration. Typically we will grind some cane with it. This year we just went straight beans. There were some that were left from last year, just weren't as high on the protein side, and so we were able to go straight beans and kind of get some more of those used up. It was a good home for them. Some wet distillers goes in with that, rolled corn, build a ration out of that with some balancer and whatnot, and it seems to perform really well in the bunk, so been happy with that. I cannot ever catch a break tub grinding. And so bean hay, even though it's not stubble, it's not out of the back of the combine, we grow it intentionally for hay. We cut it green. We put it up in big round bales like alfalfa, but it goes through the grinder kind of like bean stubble.
Oh, it is dusty.
It is dirty.
Man.
At our place, I have my tub grinder man can set up in 3 different directions based on the wind. Actually 3.5 really, if he wanted to push it. It is always calm to variable when he comes to my house. Like, I don't want 40-mile-an-hour wind for the tub grinder, but like a 10-mile-an-hour breeze from just a constant direction would be phenomenal. And for some reason, our tub grinder guy, he kind of frowns on feeling your way to the grinder. And so, guess and check or, trust but verify isn't necessarily the best option. But we've, I don't know, we got that ground, got everything going there, and that's been good. And I like feeding. Erin hates it. She has no use for chores or feed wagon of that style of chores, I guess. But I enjoy it. That's probably from growing up on the dairy farm and, running tractor and feed wagon all the time.
I'd say I'm kind of indifferent to it. I don't hate it, but when it gets summertime and everything's gone, I sure enjoy that hour and a half back in the morning that I have to spend every single day through spring and winter.
The only time I don't like it is when I really want to do something else and I can't because I got to go home and feed.
Yep.
Or like, we need to, so because of the way things work, obviously, we wean. We've got calves on feed wagon. They typically leave the backgrounder lot and go to the feed lot sometime after the first of the year, but it's actually usually first part of February. So we go through all of the holidays like, we'd love to go somewhere, but now we got to find somebody to come do chores for us or like beg and borrow, like, I'll have it all loaded if you'll just feed it one day and, all that stuff. But anyway, it is what it is. So that has been good. Golly, I was trying to think what else. So we have been battling some form of illness at our house.
Oh man,
everybody has. I've sort of lost track, probably for a month or better.
Yeah.
And I think the boys, one of them kind of had it. Tanner's been kind of congested, but then Erin got something, and then I thought I had what she had, and then it turned out to be kind of worse, and then she caught that too, so whatever she had first must have been different, and I feel pretty good now, except like you get all that sinus pressure and all the junk.
Yep.
And so at some point I'm going to start sounding like the guy from Sling Blade, and because I get hoarse and I can't talk. But
yeah, I think at one point I caught sicknesses back to back to back. It was it was dumb.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I've always said my immune system is like that one calf in the pen where you're just like, man, he just never looks all right. He just always that sickly calf. I mean, that would be me in the pen of calves.
You're kind of a chronic.
Yeah, the one that you're just like, oh, he doesn't look like he needs treated, but he never looks healthy. That's kind of me in the wintertime.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is.
There's a soft spot in my heart for those guys.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my wife is a little that way as well. She's always about.
Well, I mean, it'd be nice if we could just give ourselves res floor in LA. I mean, technically, you can.
I mean, maybe you can. We don't recommend that. That is not that's not an endorsement for self-treating.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, but so yeah, other than that, I guess that's kind of everything on the ranch side. Been doing some stuff at home, just personal stuff and that kind of thing. We'll probably get into that later, but yeah, I was trying to think that's most of the excitement there. Work has been really busy. And I think part of it is because we're growing and we're picking up some new clients, customers, there's another outfit that we work with and they are picking up some customers and we do some grind and mix for them. So that's been keeping us kind of busy. What is interesting to me is lick tubs right now. Mm-hmm. Typically this time of year, we'd expect to be moving a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And so typically what we carry is we're doing a protein molasses-based lick tub that has mineral packages in it. And, in this part of the world, and I'm not saying it's right for everybody's operation, but it fits a lot of the operations out here. The molasses and the extra saliva from licking on a lick tub helps with digestion. Some of the extra sugars and that sort of thing in the molasses help break down some of that. I'm going to call it poor quality forage. So whether that's corn stalks or winter range or whatever, and so then they supplement a little protein on the side to kind of help them out. And that seems to be a pretty good plan out here. It's a little more weatherproof than loose mineral. It can encourage consumption, which is, typically a good thing. And so there's a lot of guys that run lick tubs. It has been so nice and so open that we are selling like a fraction of the tubs that we would normally sell.
Oh, wow.
Which is fine. If you don't need them, don't buy them. Really loose mineral is still staying pretty strong because I think guys are throwing out loose salt and loose mineral as opposed to
no moisture in the forecast.
Yeah, as opposed to tubs. And so that is fine. But the bulk feed, the grind and mix stuff has been just really, really busy. And, I think to some degree, and it's kind of crazy to sit here and say like, well, $4.50 to $5 corn's pretty cheap, but we're sort of in a world where, well, it certainly looks better than the $7 stuff that we've fed. Certainly hay prices come down.
That's for sure.
And calf price is strong. And so I think, guys, a lot of operations are going, hey, the pounds still pay, I'm going to feed up. It is current calf prices, I think, have spurred a lot of guys to feed right off the to wean right off the cow and not feed them. Boy, that doesn't make sense either. Obviously, you wean right off the cow. Like, how else would you do it, right? The Farmer Tan podcast is currently undergoing technical difficulties. And if you're interested in hosting the Farmer Tan podcast, hit us up at thefarmertanpodcast@gmail.com. Certainly, you can do a better job than I can. You know how I said I was sick? Like, I think it's got in my brain and it's fogged it up, and I don't know.
Yeah, anyway. Mad cow disease transferred over.
I don't know what my problem is. Okay, we're going to try this one more time. A lot of guys are selling calves.
There we go.
Right off the cow.
There we go.
They're not weaning. They're not balling them out. They're just, they're just selling them. Understandably so. They were worth enough. Why take the risk?
Right.
But I do think there was another group that went, okay, I see the pounds pay. I have the resources, or I have the time. I have the space.
Have the cheap feed,
whatever it was. And they went, I'm going to push on these calves a while. And so, there's some there. There were some guys that were creep feeding in the pasture that actually, historically have not done that.
Yeah.
So we picked up some business there. One of the things, there is a lot of people, we sell a lot of it's a grind and mix corn-based finisher ration.
Okay.
Goes in a self-feeder, and a lot of guys will feed. It's got limiters and some other stuff in it. guys will feed freezer beef out that way.
That's becoming a bigger business.
That is, people that used to do 2 or 3 are doing 6 or 8 now.
Right.
And so that has been a tremendous amount of business.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really just all the way around, we have been rolling through a pile of corn, out of our store just last week or 2 weeks ago when I figured it up. In 1 week's time, we rolled through around 2,000 bushel of rolled corn. And that was like mixed with other product to go out. For us, that's a lot. I mean, that was a large quantity, for us. So been busy. That new truck has been running a lot.
Hey, that's good.
Pulling a lot of big loads out with that. Cody has been just running the wheels off his truck.
I see him all over the place.
Yeah. So everything's been going great at the store, really. And no complaints there, I guess. So.
Yeah. I was going to say on the farming side, this time of year, it's one of my favorite and least favorite things at the same time. Is kind of the whole seed, kind of planting hybrids and everything. Man, I love the strategy of it. I love kind of learning about new hybrids, going through test plot data, seeing how they match with the fields we've got. I really enjoy that. Same with AI sires with cattle. I can get lost in that world. I really enjoy that. And I've kind of got a problem. I want to try a little bit of everything from every company.
Right.
Which companies put volume discounts to try to discourage that sort of behavior, but it doesn't work on me.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Yes. I mean, I'm getting better about finding the 2 hybrids that work well and be like, okay, good bulk acres need to be these, but man, I've always got to throw a few new ones in. Get excited about that.
Well, and you do kind of need to try in case it's the next big thing or
the way they rotate through hybrids anymore. You can't sit on one because it's going to be gone within 5 years, so
or less.
Yep. Yeah. But so I don't know. I really enjoy that part. But kind of on the other side is doing your cash flows, all that stuff, getting ready to plan next year's operating note. Man, that's tough, especially in kind of this kind of climate.
Mm-hmm.
Got to making the numbers work and make it all jive, but I don't know. That's a little stressful, and it takes a lot of digging and planning. I don't much care for that, so I like planning for hybrids. I don't like seeing the cost of them and making sure it all cash flows, but
that's a stroke of the pen, though. You can make cash flow look fine.
That's right. We'll just up the yield a little bit.
Right.
315 bushel an acre doesn't seem too out of
No. Especially with today's hybrids.
I mean, these hybrids I picked are going to do it.
No, I would think, yeah. And certainly repair bills are going to be down.
No, I mean, it can't possibly be as bad as it has been.
That cash flow is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it.
But I mean, the good news is my labor bill stays at 0, so
that is true.
I pencil that in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That is no kidding. Yeah. It's interesting. We were talking there about feeding into and all that stuff, and once again, we don't have a camera up. We've been threatening to do that. Maybe we should. As we look around the farmer tan. We'll give you close your eyes for a minute, unless you're driving, and then just close one eye. But we'll give you a little tour here around the Farmer Tan podcast studio. And so when you walk in the front door, there's kind of an entryway, and then it kind of opens up into like a front office. Got a wood stove there that I was actually thinking about firing up tonight.
It would give it the holiday feel.
It would. I was a little concerned that maybe we weren't that cold yet.
Have you checked the flue?
I have not. I haven't cleaned the chimney, and so I was a little concerned that maybe we didn't want to burn it down tonight.
Yeah, there's other nights for that.
There is, and I was also a little unsure about, like, it's a good-sized wood stove, and so I didn't know.
50.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I didn't want to cook us out, so I did not start it. But wood stove's up there. There's a Kansas City Royals baseball picture hanging up there, and a license plate, personalized plate that says "Let's Race" with August of 2002 as the sticker.
Oh, nice.
That was on the back of my Camaro back in high school, and so because I was that guy, I guess. But a couple of Dale Earnhardt Jr. flags hanging on that wall, and then you come into I guess where the actual studio is. There's a couple other rooms in the building with some other stuff, but my wife found an atrazine.
That is neat.
Box in her grandparents' garage when we were cleaning stuff out.
the original co-op logo.
With the original, the
blue circle,
yeah,
red circle with co-op in the middle.
Yep, the actual double bubble.
Yeah.
And anyway, she found that, got it framed for me. And so that's really cool. So that's up in the window. We've got the mandatory 2 boys in overalls. Have you been farming long?
Yep.
Picture there by the window. We got Dale Earnhardt Sr. flag hanging up on the wall there. Then we have got a really nice frame picture, combine picking corn about sunset, and there's a farm, your typical farmstead in the background with a big red Husker in on the barn and some pheasants flying up at the end of the...
Just finishing the last land in the field with all the pheasants flying out, and no one's there to shoot them.
No, not a single person pheasant hunting. Ridiculous amount of roosters actually flying out there. So
like 7 of them. I mean,
yeah,
people are missing out.
They are, and got a DeKalb sign at the end of the field on the fence.
Yeah, you can tell because the corn's still standing.
Yeah, what do you think of that? Yeah, you go around to the other wall. There's an 8900 series Magnum pulling a big square baler. Really the best tractor ever created. Boxcar Magnums there. And so that's there. And then as you move to the table, we've got the mics, the earphones, the coffee pot, couple of pens. We have got IMCA modified, the number 29 mod. The guy that I used to work with back in the day, he was the owner of that car, and my brother got me that. I don't know if he had it custom made. There was a shop back home it was in another town over called Beatrice that did I don't know if they were a speed shop also, but then did custom models and that sort of thing. And anyway, they had this car, and so it is a straight up legit model of that number 29 modified. And so that was kind of fun. And then next to that is a International Harvester 656 model. And this happens to be a hydrostat model, but got the full rack of weights up front and the fender radio and all the good stuff. And if you don't need the rack of weights, they even come off there.
Oh, nifty.
Yeah. And so that is pretty much the main layout of the Farmer Tan podcast studio.
The table is a breakfast nook table with the leaf in.
With the leaf in,
yep,
for extra space.
So it's not a circle; it's a little oval.
Yeah, it is. And actually, the chairs are out of my grandparents'.
I was gonna say, I feel like everybody sat in this style of chair.
Yep, they're your brown 5-leg rolly chair. They were the only chairs I ever knew my grandparents to have, and so anyway, those are the chairs that are here.
Yeah.
Anyway. Mm-hmm. The reason any of that matters, and it really doesn't, but now you sort of know what the studio looks like. But on the table is that 656, and we were talking about doing chores and feeding out of the feed wagon. And growing up, we had a 656 gas burner International gear drive. The TA was out on the low side, like most of them are, and that was our main feeding tractor. And so we pulled a Kelly Ryan with that for a while, and then when the herd got bigger and we needed to go with more capacity, and Dad saw the value of like a TMR mix, and so we went with a Oswalt. It was a 3-auger Oswalt mixer wagon.
Derek has one of those.
That used that tractor up. We'd put the corn in and whatever all else needed to go in, the supplements and stuff that went in with that, and then loaded corn silage, haylage, and we also fed some ground hay. On the dairy cow side, dairy cows need a long stem roughage product in the ration to encourage them to chew their cud, to ruminate, to do all that. And so if you feed too much silage and too much haylage, for one, the ration gets pretty wet, and for two, they don't have that long stem product in there. And so we tub ground a lot of hay with big screens and kind of got a long stem product in there. You had to have the PTO running when you dumped that in. And when I tell you we ran that tractor wide open, I mean, you grabbed the throttle and bent it over. Like, it was running absolutely wide open. So that was on that feed wagon for a long time. We finally wore that Oswald out. We ended up with a Gale 4-auger mixer, and that actually pulled considerably easier. But I remember we had a place with some heifers on it that was about a mile or maybe a little more away from the place. And I remember, just hauling feed down there when it was miserable cold. Mm-hmm. This time of year, just cold and snow. And For a long time we had one of those comfort cabs or windbreakers or whatever you want to call them. They were the canvas that draped over the hood that had kind of the half windshield. They're certainly better than nothing, but not by much.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. And so that was our setup for a long time. And then I think at some point we had updated. We ran the 826 on it for a while, but it was open station as well. And then at some point we put the 4430 on there.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were kind of starting to wear it out. And so the next logical move was to put it on the feed wagon. So you got to deal with it twice a day. But, but it had a cab, which was great. And the cab was in good shape. And so you could sit inside and be out of the weather. And I mean, we thought that was a tremendous upgrade.
Yeah,
so.
that's kind of what Derek's running now is a 4430 on the 3-auger Oswald.
Yep.
So.
Yep. That was not a terrible setup.
Yeah.
So you just bought a 12-pack of ether. And, because that John Deere 404 did not want to start if it was below about 50.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'd
so,
say even 70.
Yeah. I mean, it was like plugging it in was not an option. That was mandatory. Yeah. You plugged it in and it still had a bit of a ether habit to get her wound up, but not a bad feeding setup.
No.
And yeah, we fed a lot of critters that way. And then, as time goes on, I think Dad actually went to a vertical mix wagon. It really doesn't tub grind much for hay anymore, I don't think. He just
lets that grind it up.
Yep. And him and my brother got a big square baler, and so I know they bale quite a bit with that. Then he just grabs off flakes.
Kind of flakes.
Yep.
That'd be a good way to do it. That way it's not a whole round bale at a time or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which he's actually got a bale slicer as well for big rounds. I think he
love one of those.
Cuts them in half or maybe quarters them even.
I just wanted to get the net wrap out of the grinding ration.
Yes.
I tried cutting it off ahead of time before. I can't seem to keep up or keep the bales together enough to move them after cutting that wrap. I hate sending that much plastic through critters. I just haven't figured out a good way to make it work, getting that out. But I think those bale slicers, they kind of hold on to the net wrap. So that would be nice.
And I'll be honest with you. So being you brought it up, we were twine tie bales forever till a couple years ago. We finally got a baler with net wrap on it. I don't ever remember seeing much for twine. Sometimes you'd see kind of a roughed up frizzy piece in there, but it was pretty rare.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of net wrap that is in the ground hay pile now, and there's got to be a better way to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of with you. I would like to do better at that. I don't know how to do it economically in a timely fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron and I have looked into vertical mix wagons and we have strongly thought about going that way. Just, at the moment, budget doesn't quite allow for that. And, our mixer wagon doesn't have the ability to grind hay that way. So,
and I'll still do that some if I'm patient enough and have the time, which big ifs, I'll still twine tie some bales that I know I will feed that year. I don't want to carry twine tie over a year. So I actually did that with some of the cane I planted after the hailed off corn. I ended up twine tying about 90 out of the 150 of them. So just as a way to send a little less through. So that's the reason I do it. But it takes a lot longer to twine tie a bale than it does in that wrap.
It does.
You got to be willing to understand you're going to lose some productivity on that.
Yeah. And I'll be right honest with you, to some degree, outside of the baling process itself and maybe hauling it, like net wrap's really not. I mean,
not handy.
You could make the argument, yes, for storage, it probably sheds some water better.
Yeah.
But if you try to move them in the winter, if they're froze, either down or together, or you set them on the trailer and they freeze to the trailer, that is a bit of a headache. And then, like you said, they end up in the ground hay pile, or we've got a hay buster processor that if we hay cows,
it just wraps up the knives. Yep.
And there's two schools of thought there. You either cut the wrap before it goes in the processor, or you dump it in the processor and cut the wrap off after the fact.
Yep.
I'll be honest with you, time wise, pay me now or pay me later. I mean, It's honestly, it's not an enjoyable process, but it's not terrible to cut wrap off the rotor.
Do you have the hot knife?
We do.
Yeah, that makes things a lot nicer.
It does. But I will say I'm almost to the point I am tempted to cut the wrap ahead of time, because even how much the processor throws chunks of wrap out.
Oh, really?
I mean, you'll find those little frayed up bits. Sure. It'll throw out chunks the size of a dollar bill once in a while. And I don't know. There's got to be a better way. I wish they had well, I probably don't wish this, but I wish they had like Cecil net wrap or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Something edible.
I know they're working on it. The first company to come out with the room and degradable net wrap is going to make hand over fist.
I think.
Something that if it can actually hold together for more than a year and still be biodegradable in the room, and they will make a ton of money.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yep, I think so. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I guess there's an idea for you if you're sitting around with nothing to do this winter. Think up biodegradable net wrap that is digestible in the rumen, but not digestible on the bale out in the field.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck.
So that it comes apart. So yeah, I guess
if you mix bubble gum and ground up corn stalks together, that'd probably work, right?
I would think. Yeah, I don't know why it wouldn't.
Well, edit this out. We don't want that out there. Just
we'll cut that out. Yeah,
big lip chew and corn stalks.
Yeah, right.
Put it in a blender and make that wrap.
On a serious note, and Farmer Tan podcast does not necessarily take a stance one way or the other on the hemp industry. But what I will say is I have had the thought before, certainly there is a way to make a somewhat light duty type something that you could weave into net wrap out of hemp. Like, have you ever got that when you're out like trying to shred something or
I just swath the pasture bottoms with all that garbage in it.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you try to walk through it that stuff itself turns into a rope, and that's without even trying to turn it into a rope. But certainly that would be better than...
even if you got to wrap a bale 4 or 5 times, it'd still be worth it.
Right?
Yeah.
And I would think that'd degrade in the rumen.
Boy, we're just... Damn, look at us go.
Well, that's a thought. All right, so...
See if we act on it.
See if we act on it. Yeah, I don't know. So we're pretty well... Yeah, we probably won't. We are pretty well caught up to speed, I guess, on what's going on in life. Well, with the exception of, I suppose we ought to point this out too, that girl that used to work for us that doesn't work for us no more.
Oh, yeah.
She got married over the weekend, not last weekend, but the one before.
Yeah.
And I actually had the privilege, so she also happens to be my niece, and I had the privilege of being able to participate in the ceremony.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. And Colby is solid dude. And so definitely going to be an asset to the family and looking forward to that. Super happy for them. And that was a lot of fun. So really enjoyed being part of the wedding. Just enjoyed that whole weekend and all the fun that went along with that. And so congratulations to the happy couple. And, if you need a little extra money to make ends meet, you can come back and work for the Farmer Tan podcast a little bit, but
it's delayed pay.
Yeah. Yeah. And delayed gratification. but anyway, so there's that. So really pretty well caught up on everything there. We had sort of talked about making this our Christmas spectacular. And I think that's probably what we'll call it, is the Farmer Tan podcast Christmas spectacular.
Woohoo.
There you go. But I guess I don't know what is so spectacular about this particular episode other than it's probably going to be the last one before Christmas.
Yep.
And so with that, it's not feeling terribly Christmassy outside, thank goodness.
Yeah.
As we talked about earlier, but we thought, well, maybe we'd talk some Christmas things. And so I don't know, what do you want to start? Do you want to get on BSB right off the bat?
We can start off.
See if that puts us in the Christmas mood.
So should I read our sponsor first?
You should, yeah.
Okay. This BS&B is proudly brought to you by Back Pockets. Back Pockets, always right behind you when you get left behind until they get to the bottom of it. So thank you to Back Pockets.
Hey, where would you be without a back pocket?
That's exactly right. Okay. So buy, sell,
or a listener of the show, where would you be with no pockets?
Where would you put your hands?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what I'd do with my hands.
I
awkwardly just hold them out there.
I guess. I don't know what I'd do with my billfold or my cell phone.
Oh boy, they'd be all over the place, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah. All right. Anyway.
Okay. Buy, sell, burn to the ground. We're gonna do kind of Christmas cookie / dessert here. So that frosted sugar cookie with sprinkles. And then you got those peanut butter cookies with either the Reese's or the Hershey's Kiss in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
The last one is the Little Debbie's Christmas tree cakes.
Buy,
sell, burn to the ground.
Okay, so right off the bat, Little Debbie Christmas tree cake gets burnt to the ground.
Really?
Yeah. Some Little Debbie stuff is okay. That is one that I've just never really cared for.
Okay.
So to me, the frosting gets a little waxy on the roof of my mouth.
Yeah, probably it's been processed.
Yeah, and I'm just not a big fan of those. So if Little Debbie wants to throw money at us, I could probably be persuaded. But as it stands, I'm
Just
burning
quick,
that.
have you seen Justin Danger Nunley on TikTok or social media?
I haven't.
He made a hoodie on the back. He kind of had a pudgy Little Debbie logo with Big Deborah. That's the name instead of Little Debbie.
That's funny.
I feel like that's more the Little Debbie proper.
That's good stuff.
So
I like that.
Big Deborah.
Big Deborah. Okay, so like everything, I have to make it overcomplicated.
I know it.
I need some explanation or clarification. Frosted sugar cookies are homemade?
Homemade.
Okay. I'm definitely buying those.
Okay.
The homemade version frosted sugar cookies are probably my favorite.
So do you kind of like the traditional thin flat ones, or do you like the puffy soft ones?
I like the puffy soft ones.
Yeah, with either one.
Yeah, I can too, but my preference would be the softer ones.
I'd agree with that, especially the good cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. But I do like the peanut butter cookies with the Hershey Kiss in them too. So I'm going to sell those, but I could be persuaded either way.
Yeah, top two are tight.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I think that's final answer.
Okay. I'm pretty close. I think I'm going to buy the frosted sugar cookies. I just, like you said, either one with the frosting. I mean, let's not get too crazy with the icing. They're sweet enough. We don't need an inch of icing on top of them.
But it's okay if you want to.
Yeah, no. But anyway, I'd probably sell the Little Debbie Christmas trees.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, zebra cakes are okay. The Valentine's ones are okay. Something about the Christmas trees make them even better. It's the exact same thing, but there's something different about the Christmas trees.
All right.
It's kind of like, think about Reese's peanut butter cups. They're special one. You got the Reese's egg, the Reese's pumpkin, the Reese's Christmas tree. Don't you think the egg's better than the other two?
You want to know what I really think is better? Is the traditional,
Geesh.
like it's supposed to
What a
be,
curmudgeon.
Reese's peanut butter cup.
Okay.
Not the thin, not the big cup, just the standard, like it came from the factory originally.
That's good content, Jake.
Well, I'm just telling you. The eggs, the Christmas trees,
Way to play along.
the pumpkins, all that garbage. It's all garbage.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to sell the peanut butter ones just because I think they get a little hard. And I'm not a big I like peanut butter. Doesn't rank as high as chocolate and some other things. So peanut butter desserts, I'm kind of ho-hum on.
Yeah, and I can, if they have gotten to the point where they've gotten a little hard.
It's tough.
It's
tough to hit them just right.
It is. Boy, when they are soft and
almost a little underdone in the middle with that Reese's. Yeah.
That's just right.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, or you got to throw them in a Tupperware with a couple slices of bread and soften them up. Shout out to anybody else.
Use the heels of bread for anything else than softening up cookies.
Maybe hot dog bun, but that's about it.
In a pinch.
Yeah, but that's it. Otherwise, softening cookie or brown sugar. You can soften brown sugar that way.
Yeah.
So if you need to do that, there's your free tip. When I was a kid, we had a store in town in Fairbury that was, the name of the store was the Dale Bakery.
Yeah.
And it was a Wonder Bread branded store. Now, they had other stuff there too. They had Hostess products, I know for sure.
Nice.
And they probably had some in-house stuff, but I don't really know. I'd have to ask my mom. But I know it was the bread store. That's what we called it, going to the bread store. And how odd that seems now in our world of supermarkets that there was literally a place like that. But there was, and, Wonder Bread was our choice of bread growing up. I mean, that's what, and I don't even know if you can get that anymore.
I'm not sure if they even make it. Do they?
But
probably.
I guess if shout out at the podcast and let us know. But I mean, I can still see it, like the red, yellow, blue circles, and I mean that's what we grew up on, and like Hostess Twinkies, and you put those in the freezer and just eat them out of the freezer, and
I've never tried that.
Oh, that's good stuff. So
McCook had an old home bakery.
Oh yeah,
I remember kind of going down there and you get discounted bread.
Yep.
And then I heard we went on tour Iowa State in college, their animal science department, as part of an agronomy trip. They were talking about they were pretty close to Hostess Bakery, and they would actually take all their rejects and scraps and feed it in the cattle ration.
Sure. Yep.
And I know a lot of people do that who are near a bakery. It's cheaper than corn and distillers and all that. And this guy said, we never worry when they get out in crop fields. He's like, we can call them out for bread. He said,
really?
We'll leave a green growing cornfield to come eat bread.
For bread?
He's like, I guarantee if I set a bucket of corn and a bucket of bread next to each other, they wouldn't even touch the corn.
Really?
I thought that was pretty interesting.
That is. So, beans, we've sort of been talking about feeding cattle. So, I remember, like in high school, just reading over the invoice or the build sheet for the grain mix that Dad got that went to the dairy cows. And one of the line items was, it might have just said bakery or it said bakery reject. I can't remember. But that was part of, and I don't know if it was pelleted or if it was just ground up. It was kind of hard to sort it out in the feed wagon. You couldn't really see it. But that was listed on his invoice of stuff. But I remember my granddad talking, he was on the dairy board with another, guy who their farm was pretty close to like a candy, like I can't remember if it was Mars or who it was.
Nice.
But a candy factory.
Put M&Ms in the ration?
Well, so I don't think it was M&Ms, but they were literally getting like hopper bottom loads of reject candy. And
that'd be hard not to eat.
Right. And, but they were dumping it in their commodity shed. And so, 200 whatever pounds of supplement. And then, 2,000 pounds of silage and 1,500 pounds of haylage and 500 pounds of Skittles, or whatever. And in the feed wagon it goes, but anyway, so that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I just had an idea. I mean, we're just coming up with them left and right here. Why don't they take all the heels off the loaves of bread and just feed them to cattle, and then you can just buy loaves of bread in the store with no heels?
No heel. That's a solid question.
I think that's something. It's an idea.
I think it would be. Absolutely.
Yeah. Write it down.
Yeah.
Put it with our list.
Put that on the list.
We'll attack these someday.
Yeah. So
after tomorrow.
Yeah, probably. That's when most things get done. So yeah, we tried to make it out of Christmas, and then we ventured off to feeding cattle again. So
it's that's Christmas tradition, right?
Welcome to Christmas.
Wake up, feed cows.
Yeah, wake up, feed cows, and yeah, that's right. And so yeah, I guess on that note, Christmas tradition wise, anything special your family does for Christmas?
No, we were talking ahead of time. Nothing that really stands out from what anybody does. Usually, Sheffield side would do Christmas Eve. Now that we're kind of older, that's every other year because one year we're home, next year we're on the other side. So Christmas Eve there, but let's see. No, I can't really think of anything else that we really do that really sticks out. Just kind of the usual. We'll put lights on the house.
Yeah.
We've got we live in a modular, so that's pretty easy. We get in some of these crazy steep pitched houses. I'm not sure that would happen.
Right.
But yeah, no, I can't think of anything too exciting. I mean, that's not much of a Christmas spectacular, but
yeah,
really that's kind of about it.
Yeah. We put some lights up. I love Christmas lights, and I wish I had the time. It's mostly comes down to time, which is, what I blame everything on, I guess. But if I had more time, I would certainly put up more lights, especially now with the LEDs, and you can put like 40 strings together, which is awesome.
And they don't go out if one goes out.
Yep. And so that's fantastic. But we put some up on the garage, because, and then, Christmas tree in the house. We got a few more lights in the house, and we put out some Christmas knick-knacky stuff here and there. But, I know some people, and props to you if this is you or someone in your family. I mean, you walk in and it looks like Santa Claus's bag exploded in your house. And in a way, I sort of envy those people. I like that. It makes me happy. I don't have the time. And like we were talking before, I've got two rowdy little boys that I'm not excited about decorating a mess. And sometimes they sort of leave parts of the house a mess. And yeah, I don't know, hanging Christmas lights on a pile of dirty clothes just isn't the same. And so we don't quite decorate like some do, but if you do, I'm glad. And, Sierra, the gal at the store, she's got the store decorated up nice, which, like I said, is fitting because I probably spend more time at the store than I do at the house a lot of times. And so she's done some good stuff, and it looks pretty Christmassy there. And so I like that for sure. But yeah, I don't know.
like we've talked about before, but just kind of as you get an adult, you let the things that you have to do around the holiday season as family kind of get in the way of what Christmas should be, what it used to be. So that kind of reminds me, I think my favorite thing about Christmas as an adult is when it falls on a Sunday. There's just something about going to church. I love that.
Yeah.
And we kind of, I think in the past 5 years, we've hit it twice, which has been nice. But I think last time they said it's not going to happen again for like 11 years.
Oh, yeah.
So I think 10 years now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just kind of getting back to what Christmas should be.
Is actually, yeah.
Yeah. And something about Christmas on a Sunday just seems to fit really well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You know, talking about traditions and stuff. So we do Christmas Eve service.
Yeah.
Really enjoy doing that.
I do too.
Greg does a good job.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I really appreciate about that is it's early on Christmas Eve. You know, when I was probably in high school or maybe college even, I know our church back home always did like an 11 o'clock or 11:30, like late in the evening.
Yeah.
Christmas Eve service. And I went to that with, my brother or sister, I think off and on a little bit, but I like it at 5:30.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you don't have to stay up so late.
And it just kind of leads right into the Christmas Eve supper. Like you said, just something about starting Christmas off with a church service, even Christmas Eve, or having it in there just makes it that much better.
Yeah, I like that as well. So one of our traditions, we always go to my wife's sister-in-law and brother-in-law. We go up there and do soup, and it's not specifically family. I mean, they invite, whoever wants to or needs a place, wants to do something. And so there's been some good friends that come to that as well. And so that's always fun. Really enjoy that. Play some cards, and it's, soup and that kind of thing. And so that's kind of fun. We try to do Christmas at least morning at home at our house for our boys so they can do that, experience that. And then, if we're going to family or whatever thereafter. But there's always a lot of fun things we do. I don't know if I'd call some of them traditions because some years they happen, some years they don't. It sort of depends. We have a list of the same Christmas movies we usually try to watch ahead of Christmas, but
what are those?
Well, so to start with, a Garfield Christmas special.
Okay.
That's always top on the list. Got to watch that one. Watch Frosty the Snowman. Try to watch that one, the original, or most of the family did. I think I fell asleep partway through that last night. We watched the Christmas Chronicles. Those are pretty good.
I've seen those.
There's one called The Star, and it is like the biblical story of Christmas.
Okay.
As told from the perspective of like the donkey.
Okay, I heard of that.
Yeah, and his buddy that's a bird, and that's pretty good. That's actually really good. It's really pretty funny. And so we watched that, and we've watched the Santa Claus, and whatever. I was trying to think what all ones, Die Hard, and
absolutely,
and some of those. Yeah, there's probably a whole bunch of them, but
so we don't. Molly wants to watch White Christmas. She watches White Christmas every year. I did it for a while. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yep.
It's kind of more of a musical movie with Bing Crosby and all that.
Oh, yeah.
It is so old. They refer to Alaska at one point, and it was still a territory. He talks about how her brother was up in the territory in Alaska. It wasn't even a state yet when they made that movie.
Well, Bing Crosby's not a young man.
He's not, but I mean, that's
a while ago.
It's a good movie. I'm not saying it's not. It's just not my type of movie.
Yeah.
I'd say the closest thing, our family, me personally, growing up, I'd say the Home Alones. Seem to make it on the TV.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of quotable lines from Home Alone and Home Alone 2.
Yep. We broke those out some as well. Yep, for sure. And I know you were talking earlier, like traditional, and I don't know which side of the family this comes off of, but oyster stew, or I don't know. That is a thing. I thought it was a Clark thing, but actually maybe it
goes further up the line.
Further than that. Although Grandpa Dale, and he would have been a Clark, he liked it. And so Shannon always makes a pot of oyster stew or soup. I don't even know what it is. Oyster something.
Yeah.
On Christmas Eve. I think
that was on the Aiden side too. So I think goes back to Peterson's or France. Has to, but I mean,
Yeah.
every year I would go into it. I'm like, I'm going to man up. I'm going to try oyster soup. And I got a whiff of it.
Oh,
The side of it. I'm like,
it smells like
next year.
It smells like a bait shop. It is terrible.
And it looks like tadpole swimming in
It
milk.
does. It does. And there's no way it tastes good. I mean, it's got to taste just terrible. And the amount of milk and butter that you could make like pudding with.
It's the same argument for sweet potatoes. If you got to put that much butter in
No.
something, it can't be good.
Now. Careful.
Yeah, we don't need to go into that.
But I mean, for real, like, I mean, there is so much like butter, milk, cream,
Yeah.
whatever. And I just look at that and I think, well, you could have made custard. You could have made, pudding. You really could have made anything, actually. But instead we got this
butter on a stick would have been better.
I mean, there's no way it doesn't taste like a booger. I mean, it is the most miserable looking stuff. I don't know. I am in no danger of trying it. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever get there.
No, I don't think I will either. It's kind of fun. As a kid, obviously, you're pretty wound up about the presents and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But honestly, it's just the family time that I'm excited about.
Yeah.
We sit around, we play a ton of cards. We eat way too much and talk and carry on and laugh. And depends what the weather's like. We've got brother-in-law build a 4-square court out in his garage.
Oh,
and
nice.
so, we'll play that. We went out and shot guns, because
Oh, yeah.
nothing says Christmas in America like, blasting a hole in an old barbecue grill you don't need anymore. Or we'll play ball in the yard or, I mean, whatever. But, or if there's snow, I mean, we've been sledding on Christmas and done all that too. But
kind of going around on the car hood or something.
oh, yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yep.
so a lot of fun. But yeah, it's just, you got some time to just kick it with the family and you don't have to be anywhere and do anything else. Like
Yep.
that is the point.
Yep, exactly.
And so, yeah, I enjoy that for sure. I don't know. I was going to say on the tradition side, we've always kind of went around with our boys. We'll load them up and drive around. We'll grab something from Runza or whatever and then drive around Gothenburg and look at the Christmas lights.
Yep, we do that too.
Do something like that. And
Yep.
and that is one thing I always remember doing as a kid growing up. We used to do that too. A lot of times we'd go to Pizza Hut and, whatever, go out to eat. That was kind of special for us growing up. So do that and then go around, look at Christmas lights. And that was always kind of fun. But
yeah, boys enjoy that too. And usually one of them ends up asleep by the end of it. But,
yeah.
they're probably getting old enough they'll make it through one of these times. But now I don't know about Kimberly if she can even stand being in her car seat that long.
Yeah, that's true.
She's a feisty gal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Aaron seemed to get along all right with her, though.
I know. We were joking that anytime she's nearby, we're just going to pass her off because she got along so well with her.
Yeah. Yeah. Had you guys over for supper there that one night. And yeah, Aaron.
You're like, can you just hold her for a minute and we'll just peel out and drive away? No.
Yeah. And okay, so this is fun. I'll tell you about this. Oh, you already know because you were there, but or
I
maybe
might not remember.
well, or you might not appreciate it even. But so yeah, I had Jared and Molly and their family over for supper one night, and so be there at 7 or whatever time it was, and got there and walked in the door. I mean, I don't think Cole even had his shoes off, and he turns around, and so in our house, and it's old farmhouse, and so we have the kitchen and the dining room and then the living room, and you walk into the living room, and we had done a pretty serious cleaning, and before you guys were coming over, but I had not turned the light on in the living room, and to be honest with you, so when we kind of redid the place a little bit, we used a bunch of those Edison light bulbs.
Those are neat.
And I like them. They're cool.
Yeah. Yep.
They're not terribly bright.
Yep.
And we did kind of some of the our ceiling fans look like they're old, but they're just modeled that way. Well, anyway, unfortunately, the Edison light bulbs don't last forever. And the one in the living room kind of wore out. And so I think we just put whatever we had handy in there, which happens to be a pretty bright one right now, but we really never use it. And so anyway, okay, everybody's coming in. We better turn the lights on. So throw that on. It was pretty bright. Cole walks in, takes his boots off, turns around, and he's like, man, why do you got that big old cobweb up there?
Just the what is it, parent? You just face palm so hard.
And so I turned around and I look, I'm like, oh my word, that is a big cobweb. So I just told
Not
him,
even 30 seconds in.
oh man, I just told him they were leftover Halloween decorations. And I think he kind of bought into it for a little bit. And then at some point he was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you kind of go over the checklist in the car, it's like be polite, say thank you, eat your food.
Turn your paper plate upside down.
That one did not make the checklist. Is like, do not point out cobwebs in other people's houses.
He was not wrong though. That was a tremendous you could have braided it into a rope and towed a car with it.
That's there as a parent. Just like, there's just nothing. There's no saying. You just
I thought it was funny.
No comment you can make.
I'm like, yeah, that's a cobweb now. So
he just learned about cobwebs in school.
Yeah, right.
He's really into them right now.
Yeah, he really thinks
that's the only reason he noticed.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I certainly didn't see it there, and I didn't see the one on the other side of the room either. Oh man, so that was fun. I kind of enjoyed that. But
yeah, kids.
Yeah, so I don't know. Had you guys over, and that was kind of fun. And,
yeah.
I don't know. We have talked this earlier in the show. Just the longer time goes, boy, there's days I feel like I'm forgetful. And you kind of made the comment. Well, maybe somebody told you at one point that maybe that's just being too busy or whatever.
No.
There are certainly days that I feel like I'm a little overextended.
Mm-hmm.
The part of that I hate the worst is like, I feel like I even have to schedule free time.
Right.
And so, I don't know, we'd say that all the time. Oh, we got to get together. And then, it seems like it takes 3 months to figure out, which is usually my fault. But
no, and also this podcast, it takes, I don't know, any of us hold the plans too tightly because something always comes up we both understand. So,
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You got to be intentional about taking that time off because it's pretty easy to let your kids' lives go by. And I never have heard a retired guy say, I wish I would have done some more work, or got a few more things done.
Yeah.
It's always, I wish I would have taken my kids on a few more trips and this and that. So I try to keep that in the back of my mind, and I need to get better at it. I need to work at it because you got to work at it.
I know you do.
It's kind of odd concept work at relaxing, but
it is. Yeah, it is. We've got another couple that we're friends with. They live up on the north side of town, or north of town a ways. And anyway, but he rides dirt bikes. In fact, he still does a little bit of motocross racing himself. And so my youngest, he's big into dirt bikes and all that stuff. And so we had planned our free time, and so we were going up there for supper Sunday night. And so we went up there, and I said, hey, the weather's nice. Owen wants to know if he can bring his dirt bike. And Steve's like, oh yeah, like bring it up. And so Owen, he rides it's a Kawasaki 85 2-stroke, and it gets pretty good for what he's wanting to do.
I've seen it.
And so we loaded it up and took it up there, and I figured him and Steve would ride. I didn't know if I was going to. I knew Steve had a collection of stuff, but I didn't want to be presumptuous. And so I show up there, and he's got like 3 of them sitting in the doorway of the shop that he was tuning on. And I'm like, well, it looks like we're going to have ourselves a little get together. And so anyway, Owen rode his. Steve had a Kawasaki 125 KLX 4-stroke that Owen rode that a little bit. It's interesting because that 4-stroke is more torque.
Okay.
But it's not as snappy.
Yeah, sure.
It was a bigger bike. I think Owen kind of liked it, but it was quite a little different than what he was used to. But anyway, so he rode that some, and then Steve, like he rode his race bike, and then he had another like a 300 2-stroke there that I was riding. And Steve's a motorhead from way back, so like nothing stock on anything. And I mean they're tuned up, and I mean they are race bikes. I mean that's what their purpose is, and they have more capacity than I have ability to ride them.
Don't you hate them when that happens?
And which didn't stop me from trying.
I know, you got to use it all.
Yep. So I swung on the one he wanted me to ride his, and I told him no, I was going to ride the other one. I didn't want to wreck his bike, but so I was riding the one. It was fun, and it was pretty snappy.
Nice.
I mean, it went really well, and so we hopped on. We rode down to the end of the driveway, and he's got a driveway that's probably a quarter mile, I suppose, and driveway's kind of built up a little bit, and then there's some just real soft like grass strip on the side between that and the cornfield, and they're not really like a ditch because they're pretty flat, but kind of. Anyway, so we're riding, we get to the end of the driveway and whip around, and he pulls off in that grass and heads back towards the house and just lays on it, picks the front end up and rides a wheelie all the way back to the shed. And I'm like, Well, so there you go. So anyway, but we were playing around on those, and he's like, here, ride this one. So I finally get on his, and we're burping him around the yard and tearing up the yard and down the driveway and around on the road. And I was starting to feel pretty comfortable. We'd been riding for an hour or so, and I'm feeling pretty good. So whipped around at the end of the driveway and got her, wound up in first and clicked it into second and just hammered on it. And I mean, front wheel come way up, and I'm like, well, here we go.
There you go.
And so, that was fun. Enjoyed that. Owen really enjoyed that. And,
I'm sure he did.
And it was fun being able to have him ride with somebody who rides.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, motocross and that sort of thing is just a whole different beast. And so, Steve was giving him some pointers on how to, different maneuvers and how to ride, that sort of thing. And that was pretty fun. So anyway, had a really good time with him. Great supper. That was fun. And and a good time. But there again is an example. We had been talking the whole back half of the summer about needing to get the family together. We're going to go to Halsey and go riding or do something, and it just never worked. And so
you wait for the opportunity. There'll never be one. So
yeah. So I don't know.
I'm more saying this so someone could play it back to me and say, yeah, you actually said that.
See, you said that.
Hold me to it.
And I guess so to tie that all together, that is one thing I like about the Christmas season is it seems like that becomes a priority.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of other stuff, kids' school programs and all that, but people become more of a priority.
Because you got that week between Christmas and New Year's, especially this year where it falls in the middle of the week. You basically got 2 weeks that are shot from business's standpoint and stuff. So it's really not a bad time to kind of do some of those things.
Yep. That is a fact for sure. So, yeah. Well, I don't know. What else you got?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I was trying to think if there's anything.
Winter's kind of a slower time. So, except this one, I mean, I guess technically it's not winter, but just hasn't felt like you hit that recovery period. It's, at least for me, it's just kind of still been a continuation of the spring and the summer and getting there.
Yeah.
Getting there.
Yeah, I think so. We're going to hit on some carpet farming, and, this podcast is really timed out about right. So I think we're going to put that on the burner, back burner
for it.
Yeah. We'll get in the.
No way we could fit that in 5 minutes.
No. And I was trying to think that other podcast we listened to, the
BTO of the carpet farm.
Oh man, I'm here to tell you.
Yeah.
What do they call it? The doldrums of winter, I think is how he refers to it. And so there'll be time in January and February to talk that over. Yep. But one thing I appreciate.
Those months last half a year.
I mean, forever. The one thing I appreciated about carpet farming, 40-foot disc, 80-horse tractor, you just grunted a little harder. It always had more than enough power. So
not true.
So I appreciated that. Yeah. So yeah, we'll get into that. I will throw this out there. If you've listened this long, we appreciate it very much. As Jared mentioned before we came on air, but he said our ability to talk far surpasses your ability to listen. So we could go on forever. So if you made it this far, thank you for that. I don't want to badger or whatever, grovel for different things. However, I will say this. If you like the podcast and you want to subscribe, please do that. You can like it, you can share it, you can comment on it. All of those things actually help keep us relevant in the algorithm stuff.
Yeah, I just learned about that. Even leaving comments. If you're like me, I don't comment on anything unless I really feel like I need, want to say something.
Yeah.
Even if it's just enjoyed it or been better.
Yep.
Even if you just leave 2-word comments, that all kind of helps keep it relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, any engagement helps it.
Like, hey guys, that was actually pretty poor. So whatever. But yeah,
might even comment that. No,
so this is my get out there and mash that like button.
Yeah, I get that's annoying, but I guess the more I'm learning, the more I understand why creators do it. I don't want to get to that point.
Yeah,
just if you guys aren't aware, like I wasn't aware why that matters. It's just if there's no engagement, they don't really push it or attach it to anything else. So
yeah, and like anything else, I mean, obviously we're looking to grow the podcast. We don't know what that looks like exactly, but we probably have in the neighborhood of 7 listeners, and so we're really happy with that. if we could get to 8 or 9, that'd be great.
Great.
And you liking and sharing and commenting and subscribing and all that nonsense. The reason it works is it triggers things in the algorithms. And so other people who are maybe not associated with this see it.
Yep.
And so then they can jump on there and do whatever. But another thing, we would like you to reach out and just tell us what you'd like to hear about.
Yeah.
We've got some ideas for special guests coming up in the new year. We kind of waded into that a little bit with Garth. Bless his heart, he was willing to take that on and be our test run. And I thought he did a really good job. I mean, we were very grateful for that. I guess just a little snippet of what's coming up in the new year. We have got some guest speakers lined up who are involved in the grocery business. Mm-hmm. And so we will get
I'm
to...
excited about that one.
Yeah, I am as well. And he's a really funny dude on top of that. So that should be fun. But we'll get to see the retail side of the industry that we're in, so to speak. So that'll be fun. Guy from the grocery business. I think we're probably going to have some interaction with people from the ag lending side of things.
Yep.
So that will be fun. We've got a radio announcer lined up from a beloved local radio station. Mm-hmm. He was actually supposed to be on already, but then he had to do other important stuff and couldn't be here. But I think we're going to have him on. There's a seed dealer that's probably going to come on. Golly, I'm trying to think who all else we've reached out to and vice versa, but maybe another podcaster.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have
social media.
Is he a social media giant?
Well, he's giant to us. So.
We could bill him that way.
Yeah. If anybody's heard of the Korean corn farmer, we've kind of got him loosely scheduled.
Yeah. So anyway, a lot of stuff coming up in the new year, but we would like to hear what you'd like to hear about. And so
we're also BSB ideas. I've heard a couple, but man, we would love to hear more of that, or you're just going to keep hearing ours.
Yeah, which typically are food.
But I mean, don't attach all the qualifiers Jake needs to make a decision. Just keep it real short so we can't add a ton of qualifiers on.
But the more specific you are, the more honest answer you get. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
So with that, we appreciate you guys riding along. We hope you have a very Merry Christmas.
Absolutely.
We hope you have a Happy New Year. We'd encourage you to just take that time and enjoy the friends and family that you're around. We know that it can kind of be stressful. And so if you need to, drive to town and pick up some, last minute ideas, or you need to just kind of get out of the house, so you need to go water some cows or whatever it is, throw on Farmer Tan podcast.
There you go.
And let us bore you to death instead of your, great aunts and uncles doing that for you. But as always, we appreciate you riding along. Have a Happy New Year, and we will see you back here most likely right after the first of the year.
Yeah, 2025.
It seems like just yesterday it was not 2025.
Yeah.
So
yesterday wasn't 2025.
Well, that's why it seems like it. All right, guys. We'll see you.